The selectmen had the meeting last night in Windham, New Hampshire, and this was over who was going to do the audit for the allegations of ballot fraud, which was then sanctioned by the full vote bipartisan on the General Assembly. Now, for people who don't know what selectmen are in New Hampshire, they're like your typical county supervisors or city council people. They expected, 30 or 50 people to turn out for this meeting. There were 500 people. Heather described the scene last night.
Okay, so there was a lot of people there last night, John, but the interesting thing is one of the selectmen, Bruce, he had actually requested that they hold the meeting at the high school initially, and for whatever reason, the rest of the board didn't follow suit. They didn't update or change the location of the meeting until the meeting had already started. So it was in this tiny little community center building at their town hall, and there was like maybe 30 people crammed into the room. The rest were piled up outside. And so what ended up happening is the crowd were getting so frustrated that they were arguing with the chair as he's trying to conduct the meeting, because they were saying that there were hundreds of people outside that now would not get to take part. They would not get to comment or be included. So it got very, very crazy, very, very fast, to a point where a police officer was threatening to arrest people for being disorderly at one point. But eventually they did move the meeting to the high school. They took a recess, and for about an hour they had to transition everybody over to the high school. And then it got even crazier when the chair started to basically say that they were not going to change their pick for Mark Lindemann. And take a look at what ended up happening.
This board then took that input that was received through 4 p.m. that Friday, plus we all worked through the weekend researching this on our own. We came to a reasoned decision that Monday, and it was a 3-1 vote for Lindemann. And I understand that Selectman Breton is upset that we did not go with his choice. That's unfortunate for Bruce. We have to move forward. For me, I certainly see and appreciate your passion, but it must be remembered that who yells the loudest is irrelevant. Who sends the most emails or letters to the selectmen and the selectwoman is irrelevant. Who shows the most passion is irrelevant. What is required is the vendor who can do the work in the fairest and most scientific manner and report. What, you guys afraid of science? They need to report the strongest results possible. And our duty as a board is to the people of Windham. We are the Windham Board of Selectmen.
So John, that was pretty crazy, and it's almost kind of sad to see, because, I don't think it was fair for him to say to that crowd, "Are you afraid of science?" Because I specifically had sent the selectmen, the entire board, an email about my conversation with UC Berkeley professor Phil Stark, who used to be on the board with Mark Lindemann for verified voting, and he, along with a Georgia Tech professor, both scientific experts on that board, left that organization because of the board's, or the nonprofit, going out and authenticating like untrustworthy voting machines in Georgia, and misrepresenting risk limiting audit procedures, which, mind you, Professor Phil Stark had actually invented back in 2007. So for that chair to then criticize that audience and say, "Are you afraid of science?" when two scientific experts have criticized that same organization, is really unfair.